So, it's the 27th today, and, well, I'd like to cast everyone's mind back to a year, because I think people's year-long Brexit hangover is now ended. And quite frankly, I'm going to give you some harsh truth. So, first of all, let's take my message to the people who voted leave. And I'm sorry, but in a year, nothing good has happened. Now, you can say, oh, but the negotiations haven't started yet. No, the negotiations haven't started yet because there was no plan to negotiate. Theresa May called an election about Brexit and then proceeded to give no new information about Brexit, thus blowing her entire political load and revealing that her supposed hand she had, where Brexiteers believe that the entire hand she holds is like full of aces, is in fact completely blank. Yes, Theresa May has played a blank hand at poker and has conned you all, and not just her, pretty much the entire UK public. So you might be thinking, well, hold on, how do we know what else is going to happen? Well, I'm glad you asked, because, quite frankly, these two books should be required reading. First of all, Brexit, What the Hell Happens Now, by Ian Dunnett. Basically, before you even start, both these two books are not incredibly pro-Brexit, or even anti-Brexit. This basically gives you the facts of what's going to happen, and basically the nightmare shit show that is about to happen over the next 2 years during the talks. This, the Great Brexit Swindle, shows that the people who sold you Brexit have absolutely no good intentions to make Britain even great or even the most. And this is by a guy called TJ Coles. And basically, you got swindled. So basically, hopefully you spent a year basically on an absolute high. Well, hopefully this year your high will finally end. And I hope that you come crashing down to reality, if you haven't done already, to realise that, oh shit, Brexit was an awful idea and is going to be a shit show. And to the people who voted to remain, congratulations. We can now sit back and drink our giant glass of "we told you so" in absolute knowledge that everything we said was going to happen is unfortunately going to happen, which is the bad news. So basically what we have to do now as the Remain camp is basically we have to start saying this. If Theresa May cannot reach a deal in 2 years, which basically, read this, she can't, neither can our entire, basically, Whitehall, shall we say, reach an agreement. Remember, it's going to take 7 months to sort out something as simple as pet passports. So 2 years to sort out pretty much every single trade agreement we have with the EU, plus law agreements and everything else that we have, which made us, again, a pretty good partner to be in the EU. And by the way, it looks like this year the EU is going to be reforming. So enjoy that. So on top of that, we have that basically, wonderful news to tell people. So what do? We have to go and tell Theresa May that if she cannot achieve a deal within 2 years, we basically just ignore Brexit ever happened. Basically, we just go back to being a member. And it is possible. So that is what we must say to Theresa May, because quite frankly, no deal and the nightmare scenario of what a no deal would mean, again, read these two books, you'll be clued in and you'll just be horrified about the absolute lies and swindle and the absolute shit show nightmare that we are in now. The negotiations are really going to happen. And by the way, these negotiations and what's going to come out of these negotiations is going to show you that A, Britain is an island nation. It cannot stand on its own, nor can any country in this pretty much time period. And a lot of you are going to say, oh, but Britain was once. No, we're talking about Britain now. Britain needs the EU. The EU doesn't need us, and that's the unfortunate capability. And to many people who are shouting that, oh, the EU needs us, no, they don't. The EU has about 27 other member nations that it can rely on that are going to get so much more investment now that we're out. And it's probably also, when it reforms, there are also other countries that are going to join it, meaning that it gets bigger, meaning that the single market becomes an even more important market to be able to trade in and have access to, something which we are now going to have to pay, which we were getting free as an EU membership. I can continue on this awful, terrible rant, but quite frankly, it's just an absolute shit show. So, cheers.